Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Backstage Spotlight. Today we have the lovely Lindsay Atherton. Hello.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Would you like to introduce yourself and say a bit about what you do?
Yeah, of course. So I am a performer and a choreographer. I do both at the moment. So I'm about to be in. Actually, I can't say that one. Lol, that's not even been yet. Haha. But yeah, so I perform and I choreograph. But I'm one of Matt Cole's associate choreographers, and I co-choreographed the Rocky Horror Show, the German tour, and yeah. That's what I do.
Amazing. So, talk to me about your performance time so far. What was your first professional contract?
My first professional contract was actually singing in the rain at upstairs the gatehouse. Um, and it was one of those ones where I just graduated in, what was it, 2014, a long time ago.
Wow.
Um, and it was one of the most character building times for sure. I was getting to the finals for loads of West End shows, and these dream roles which I'd um, dreamt of having since I was like 4, and then not getting them, nothing quite. Like you do get used to rejection throughout college and those kind of things, but it really was one of those moments of like, right, okay, so this is it, and you're trying to figure out like you can't help but put that blame onto yourself and think that it's because you're not good enough, rather than it being like the process and just not being right at that moment in time and things like that. um and then when Singing in the Rain came along, it was one of the most amazing contracts ever because it was so intimate, and it was a profit share. So
Nice.
I remember, yeah, but it was tough because it meant that I had to teach as well as rehearse until the shows happened. So, but I'm really, really grateful for that because it's made me so unbelievably grateful for, contracts that have happened throughout my career that are, pretty cushy. You're there, you have your weekly paycheck, and it's all quite um it feels prestigious and it feels like all those things that you've dreamt of. However, I just think that it's really grounding to do lots of different types of work within theatre and not just aim for, or not just aim, but don't just think it's all about, the West End, for example. Like one
Yeah.
of the most amazing shows I ever did was Starlight Express in Bochum. Um, and I remember I just finished doing Cats at the Palladium, and a few people had said, you know, you're in the West End now, like you're in London. Why would you want to leave? I think it's, people might forget about you, or it'll be difficult. It'll be difficult to get back in with the casting teams and things like that. And then the other half are saying that's a load of rubbish. Don't listen to it. Like if it's a show that you want to do and it's challenging, it's one of the most challenging shows out there. You'll learn so much from it, and I'm so grateful that I did. And it doesn't stop you getting back into the. Do you know what I mean? It's so funny that people think that there's this like rule book or set of rules that get you into these shows. And yeah, there probably is. Work hard, stay humble, stay nice, stay respectful, and do the best that you can do in any situation. And that's the best advice you could give, or that I can possibly think of. Um, Sorry, I've just gone off on a massive tangent there. But yeah, it was Singing in
Right.
the Rain at upstairs the gatehouse.
So, where do you think your training has prepared you well for all these auditions that you've had, and how was your time auditioning?
Yeah, definitely. I think I was super lucky. I went to Knightswood, the Dance School of Scotland, on the dance course first, and then I transferred onto the musical theatre course afterwards. And I have to say that school was absolutely phenomenal in preparing you for auditioning into colleges, and professionally in general. The foundation they have in technique there is so, so amazing. Um, and yeah, my time at arts, I would say they really do prepare you so well for auditions and things like that. It's just that the nature of what we do is tough, and there is no getting away from that. the extreme highs and the extreme lows, that's something that you have to find your own personal way of coping with, and it's not for everyone, and I totally get that. Like, it can be really taxing if you let that control you. But if you find, and I suppose people's career paths are different. I've been incredibly lucky, but at the same time, it's not luck. I work incredibly hard. Like every time I'm out of a show, my next thing is to get my butt back into Pilates and classes and training myself. Like, you should never stop training. Um, but they do, yes, the colleges do prepare you very, very well for auditioning. It's the you can the best preparation for auditions is auditions,
Yeah.
but you have to go through the college to get to that point.
Yeah. Talk us through your process from receiving the audition and preparing the material, going into the room.
Okay, so if I was auditioning for, let's say, a carousel, and I would first of all make sure I'm, um, what's the word? That I know about the show. I research the show.
Yeah,
You want
well
to make sure that you
informed.
know, yeah, you want to know who you're up for as well. And I personally like looking at the way that different people play them, but after I've read it myself. So I like reading the script or the song or whatever, making my own decision, and then looking at what other people have done for inspiration and see if I can find anything new within that, if I'm looking at text more. And I like making sure that I have an understanding of the era, the time that is set in as well, just so that you're not way off doing something completely different. And yeah, get to know who the choreographer is, get to know who the director is, who the musical director or musical supervisor or arranger, whoever is going to be there. They normally give you a breakdown of who's going to be in the room with you. And I like knowing who they are, unless it's going to intimidate you, because I also feel like there's one of those wonderful things that in the beginning, if I was going in for, I don't know, like just someone that I put on a pedestal, then it would intimidate me and I would be able to go in and just relax and do my thing. So it depends what's good for you. Once you've been out a couple of years, then I like knowing who I'm going in for, because I like to you get a sense for their style, you get a sense for what it is that they like about people. So you like to cater yourself towards that. Um but yeah, and then I practice, as it depends how long you've got. Let's say you've got 3 days, sing it in, sing it in, sing it in, sing it in, get ready. And just practice it as much as possible, It's just, if you've got dialogue, find someone to read with you. Don't just do it by yourself in your room mulling things over. That's great, but it's a totally, unless it's a monologue, it's a totally different interaction when you've got someone delivering those lines to you, because you don't know what they're going to be giving you. And if you have the opportunity to do that with multiple people, then I would do that as well, just so you're ready to be present and in the moment.
Yeah, great advice. What would you say your most memorable audition experience has to be?
Hmm. A funny one, or I'll do a funny one.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was, this is back before I managed to get control of my nerves. I used to get really nervous actually. When I first graduated, I used to get really terrifyingly nervous, and I actually ended up going on beta blockers because
Yeah.
they would slow your heart rate down.
It calm, yeah. Of
Um, yeah, and listen, each their own. You have to do what's right for you. And at that moment in
course.
time, I was getting panic attacks.
Mm,
Um, and it was the only way to kind of like just cool myself down before going in. And the reason I did that was because of this audition, because I went into I was up for Cosette in Les Mis, and the it was a couple of rounds down. This was a dream role of mine, and all the auditions had gone so well up until this point. But it was on the stage, and I looked out, and they were on this like table in the auditorium, and it was just, I don't know, for that second, I just really realized that I was little Lindsay from this tiny village in Aboyne, standing on this West End stage, like thinking I can, I don't know, I just totally freaked myself out. I got inside my head and like suddenly believed that I didn't deserve to be there.
Oh.
Ridiculous. We all deserve to be there. We've all worked so hard to get to where we are. I think it's just, you need to find that alter ego, which is, what you have to discover. Um, Especially if you're not like naturally on the best. You have to find ways of coping with that and developing your confidence. And when you can, and when you can find that control, then oh my god, it makes you so much stronger as a person for any situation, because there are so many terrifying situations that come up in your life. And I love our industry for that, because it makes you able to deal with anything that comes your way. But yeah, basically, I was standing there singing A Heart Full of Love, and I went for the top note, and just air came out. I
No.
can normally sing leap. I'd like sung it a million times, no worries whatsoever. Was so, like was so prepared, was so ready, and then yeah, air come out. So then I decided. Oh no! Then they said, "Oh, do you wanna just do that again?" And I was like, "Yeah." Set myself up again. They were lovely. This is no one else's fault. This is purely my fault. Um, went to do it again, just nothing, just aspirate. It was horrendous. So then I done quite a bit of classical training before. I decided to give a massive operatic note instead, which obviously is completely the wrong feel for that setting and that situation. And yeah, so I just basically thought, if I'm going out, I might as well go out hard and see what happens. Suffice to say, I did not get that job.
Oh, it's good to have those funny memories and that you can look back on and laugh at, and it's just made you
Yeah.
stronger like in the process. And I think that it's great to have not always great experiences in auditions, because it teaches you what to prepare for more in the next one, or it's like a
Yeah,
learning curve really, isn't it?
well, this is the thing. Like, so that led me to go on to the beta blockers. So this is right back in the very start. This is when I just graduated, and and they did help. I'll be honest. Like, they really did help to calm me down, and like I could go in, but I didn't personally feel like myself, and I didn't feel as quick mentally to be able to
Yeah.
be as present and respond. Also, you really shouldn't do exercise with them, so you can't do it from dance for dance calls. But the dance calls were, I didn't get as nervous in that, because I don't. It just felt like class, or dance auditions feel like class, which is lovely. And normally you've got friends all over the place, so that's nice. But it came to a conversation that I had with one of my really close friends, Jordan Shaw, who actually ended up being Angelas in Les Mis in the West End for a while. Um, he's always been like an amazing sounding board, but he just said, these nerves, the only person that hurts is you. It doesn't affect anyone else. The people on the panel want you to do well. They want to find that person, and if it's not you, if you do a good audition, they might consider you for something else coming up anyway. But he was like, it's such a disservice to yourself to allow yourself to get into that state, that something that you can sing at any given point, when it actually comes to the crunch, like that only affects you and it only hurts you. So I don't know, he just spoke complete and utter sense to my panicking brain. And the next edition, I had forgotten to take them. It wasn't that I'd chosen not to take them, I'd forgotten to take them. I had one of the best editions of my life. And then from that moment on, I just realized that it was such a placebo effect. I didn't need those. It was the fact that I'd managed to talk myself into that situation. So for anyone graduating now, do what you need to do. Find your process, find your method. Know that one bad audition means nothing. We're here 10 years later. It's absolutely fine. But it's that thing of you kind of have to go through those and be humbled by them. No one's perfect 24/7. That's not a thing. It's an unattainable goal, but you can grow and you can learn how to cope and deal with things that are stressful or cause anxiety. And learning how to cope with those things just makes you all round a stronger person.
Yeah. And perseverance in this industry is key because you do get so many setbacks.
Yeah, 100%. Oh my goodness. And you another thing to think about is our industry is not a race, and I think that's what it can feel like when you first graduate. And again, like at the end of the pandemic, a lot of people felt that, because suddenly you think that you're all this starting ground, and these jobs start coming out and you think that you've missed all these auditions, but they were shows that people had got before the pandemic that happen to be happening again, but our industry is so personal and so unique to each and every one of us. It's a wheel. You get on and off at different points, contracts start and finish at different points. So you can never compare yourself. And also, sometimes, I've had friends that have needed to take a year out or take 2 years out and then have come back to it. It's totally, it for you, it's totally individual to you.
Yeah. On the flip side of auditions, what has been your most exciting call to receive that you've got a part in a show?
Oh, oh, that's so hard. I think my one of my first ones was Cats was a dream show and at the Palladium, so it was my second job. And yeah, I think just getting that call that you're gonna realize that dream was unbelievable. Because you never, I don't know, it's just that feeling, isn't it? Like you've waited for that for so long, and then for that to happen. Yeah. And also I managed to film my parents' reaction as well, which was really cute because they're far more excited than I am about absolutely everything.
Oh, that's so sweet. I bet it's so nice to get that like call about what your life is going to be for the next like however months, and you're just like, oh my gosh, like this is going to change my life.
Yeah. Do you know? Yes. Like, you know what the most amazing thing is the fact that our industry doesn't feel necessarily wonderfully stable all the time. Obviously, you have a contract and then you have to go into auditions, and then depending on what's happening, it's quite unlikely that you go from job to job to job to job with zero break whatsoever. That can happen, and it's amazing when it does happen, but it's not realistic. So yeah, it's I think the thing that's the most exciting thing is that you get to breathe for a second and not have to hustle for that period of time. I mean, let's not lie, it's always a hustle. There's always a hustle, but you get to hustle a little less. But you can, yeah, let go and escape and just be in that and concentrate on one thing for that moment in time. Like, it's so true. When you have one edition, you have five, and then when you don't have a single edition, you have nothing for a little while. And they all seem to just come at once. It's never a nice, easy journey that way. I'm
Yeah,
just gonna be really honest.
yeah. I bet I'm just dipping my toe into audition season for my rest of my life, and it's I can tell that it's going to be just a roller coaster of emotions and constantly just a bit of uncertainty, but it's kind of exciting because it's like, what does the future bring? And I think that that's what's so thrilling about the industry and like new shows that are coming up and things that are being remade. It's just like a never ending what's going to be next.
Yeah. And you can't get that new exciting show if you're in a show as well. So there's pros and cons to everything. Like, just because you haven't got something yet, I know you're still in college, but for when you graduate, like, that's never a bad thing. It's never a bad thing to be auditioning. Auditioning is so exciting because
Yeah.
yeah, you never know.
Earlier, you mentioned doing international contracts. How is it working abroad?
I loved it. I loved it so much. It's scary living in a different country and a different language and having to learn that and feeling like you can't just ask someone a question. You have to, obviously. So I learned French at school, and had never even thought about learning German, if I'm being honest with you. And so when I went out there, I tried Duolingo before I left, thinking that it'd be easy. Oh my goodness. And I loved it. No, I loved it. I love that challenge. It's so exciting trying to find find accommodation, learning how different cultures work, learning um what works about their culture that works for you that you can take home with you. And it's beautiful. It's a wonderful way to travel as well and just experience different parts of the world and find a home elsewhere. Like that place became a little sanctuary for that period of time, you know? And I loved it. And I've gone back to Germany loads since and worked there a lot since then. I love Germany. It's a great place to work. They really look after you. The contracts are really well done, you know, and you, yeah, as a person, as a human, you get really well looked after. Um, they treat performers with really high regard, which is nice.
Yeah, that's really nice. The show's predominantly in English.
Starlight, no, all in German.
So Starlight was in German. And
Yeah.
how is that? Like the cast, are you just all like, oh my goodness, we're all gonna have to learn German?
Yeah, it's. I'm not gonna lie to you. Um, it is one of the most challenging things I've ever done in my life, but it's wonderful. So you have 10, is it 10 weeks? I can't remember now. I think it's 10 weeks of skate school where you learn to skate, and that's also a probation
Wow.
period. So, like, if you don't pick it up, they can ask you to leave, and also vice versa. If it's not for you, if you don't enjoy it, you can also leave. Um, but at the same time, you know, you have like 4 or 5 weeks of skating, and then you have phonetic lessons at the same time. So you learn phonetically how to speak German, the script, the songs, and then you go home to your little hotel room at that time because you all get put up in the Acora. So you get put up in a hotel first, and then you have like for the first couple of months just to breathe and settle in, and then you find your accommodation, flat, house, whatever you're looking for, and get to know people as well. But yeah, and then you go home and just drill those phonetics and that muscle memory in as the only way that you can do it, especially if you don't speak the language already. But then once you do that, and then once you understand what the words mean, it makes learning the language easier. I would say not easy, but easier. And yeah. Do you know what the hardest thing was? As a
Go on.
dancer, trying to learn to dance on skates.
Yes, I can
Because
imagine.
I thought that's what I was going to be really good at. I couldn't wait. I was like, right, we got this. And singing with those different vowels. That was another huge thing because we don't have the like the the umlauts in our language. So
Yeah.
learning to sing like that, I remember my voice was so tired at the beginning of it. And you had to really retrain your muscles to work in a different way.
Yeah.
And just everything was parallel and turned in, and coming from mainly ballet, that was really hard. um, so yeah, it was all the things that you didn't think were going to be hard that were hard, and the things that I was nervous about, like skating, loved it.
It must have
Great.
been such a good show to be a part of. And I mean, learning German, learning to skate, like you can add so many skills to like your toolkit.
Yeah,
And
that's one
it's
of the
like,
reasons why I love much. Like you never know what you're going to learn from each show that you do. You learn history, you learn languages, you learn more about yourself, more about those characters, what they went through. Like like being a performer just makes you one of the most, it makes you empathetic, even more empathetic as we probably already are as creatives. But like it makes you question so much more and makes you understand more. Um about stuff you never would have thought about doing.
yeah. How would you say your German was now?
Sehr gut. No, I can. So my German is not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, nor would I say it is very good, but it's good enough that I can get by, and that when I like for me, that's the language that I really want to work on because I work on Berlin, and obviously Rocky Horror out there still, and everyone's. This is what's difficult though. Everyone's English is amazing. So even when I try to speak German, not to the cast, if I want to speak German with them, they will absolutely struggle with me and we'll do it together, you know? But like the public, when I give a hint that I don't have fluent German, they just speak to in English. So it's actually, which is obviously very, very helpful, but it's difficult to then practice because you'll ask for something in German and they'll just reply to you in English, and you're like, no.
I come from a French background, so I'm bilingual, and
Oh, amazing.
I don't know why, but my dad made me go on French exchange at school. And for me, when I was younger, languages were like just a communication thing. So when people were trying to like learn it and speaking to me in French or English, like either way, I'd just speak to them in the language they understood because for me, language was communication. It wasn't like a skill. So
Oh,
it's
100%,
interesting
yeah.
for people who can speak both languages because like you don't always realize that people actually like want to actively like practice with you.
Yeah. But also you might really be helping someone out that actually really doesn't want to and just wants a croissant, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Talk to me about your choreography work. How did you get into it all?
So I would say I have always loved choreography or choreographing, but I didn't know that I did.
Mm.
Because my focus was so set on other things. Um, like I've always wanted to play parts and be the lead, and I've always ended up being, first cover and ensemble. I'm about to play my first, well, not my first, but I'm about to play a part coming up now, which I'm really excited about in Paris. But Matt Cole, I would say, is one of the reasons why I'm doing this. Like or probably one of the biggest reasons why I'm doing this. I've always loved it. I've always loved assisting. I've always loved, if someone's like, oh, can I have an idea for this? Like, I love coming up with that, and I didn't realize that I loved it until now. and I was always, I don't know, like those kind of things. I got so much enjoyment out of it. And Matt asked me to assist him on Berlin Berlin, and be his dance captain. And I remember thinking, oh, I don't know if that's what I want to do. I definitely want to assist him. That sounds really fun. Um, but I just I'd had a tunnel vision, I think, at that point, and I'm really grateful. I'm very much a yes person, and I think what the world sends you, you need to open your arms to within reason, and see what you can get from it. And I did not realize how much I would love that. And yeah, it was really interesting because then in the pandemic, my partner and I, Alex, we'd always loved doing like lists and stuff together. So we always used to come up with little bits and stuff and try different things out. And when the pandemic hit, we'd actually just been speaking about how we wanted to start a pineapple class together, but mainly start choreographing together. So use the classes as a way to test out choreography, make a choreography show reel, and kind of work towards that. And so we were doing that. So we started Magnetic Studios or Magnetic Movement at that time, and it was actually the reason we started it in the first place was to start choreographing for us, and then it snowballed, and then we realized how much it was helping people, so we just kind of went along with that. But it was throughout the pandemic that I really developed this love for choreographing, and also realized, a skill set within it that I didn't know that I maybe had. And but I think that Matt had seen in me. And yeah, and then afterwards, then I ended up being associate choreographer for Berlin Berlin, and basically I've worked with Matt a lot,
You did
and
Newsies as
assisted him.
well, didn't you?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Although that was Alex. So Alex was the resident choreographer on Newsies, and obviously Jane McMurtry is the associate choreographer. She's amazing. We love her. And but yeah, like I did Oklahoma with him and Flashdance, and so yeah, it's been a whole thing. But yes, basically it was the pandemic, and then Matt, and then from Matt, I worked with BB Promotion, and then they gave me Rocky Horror. So and it's just kind of snowballed from there. Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things that you start, and then I suppose, like I said, you put your whole heart into something, you work as hard as you possibly can at something, and then things happen after that.
And that's really great. What would you say your dream job would be in the future? So it could either be a performing role or a choreography for a show.
Okay, so this is like obviously probably not going to happen, but actually I'm gonna take that back. It probably will happen. It's going to happen. I'm writing a musical at the moment, and I want to write it. I have no interest in directing it, but I would love to choreograph or co-choreograph with someone. I would also like to like play a part in
Nice. That's so interesting that you've written it
it.
yourself.
Yeah. Basically, I want to do everything. And then that can be made into a movie, and then I can be in the movie. I basically want absolutely everything that this industry has to offer.
Yeah. Big aspirations and dreams. That's what you need to have.
Yeah. Like never let anyone tell you that something's too small. Like, oh my God, what's his name? I've just had a massive brain blank. What's his name? Um, Lin Manuel Miranda.
Oh,
Right.
yes.
I'm gonna be the she boss. Lindsay Atherton Miranda sings.
Yes. Oh, the last question I always ask everyone that comes on my podcast is if you were to nominate someone to come on here and talk about their time in the industry, who would it be? And I'll reach out to them.
Jordan Shaw.
Okay.
He's
Oh,
he's honestly one of the most inspiring people. Obviously he's one of my best friends, so I'm a bit biased, but his journey super inspiring, and just his way of thinking as well. Like I think will really help a lot of people.
nice. Yeah, well, definitely I'll get in touch with him. What would be your words of wisdom to someone, a graduate or someone trying to get into a performing college, like a one-liner sort of baseline advice for their future?
I'm gonna steal it from Imelda Staunton, who did a Q&A for Alex and I, but it's hers, and it's the quiet stuff. It's the quiet hours that earns you the big stuff. It's the hours that you spend not just in class. Yes, do it in class, but make sure that you're putting the time in for you, by you, in your own space.
I love that. Lindsay, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure
No,
to
you're
talk to
so
you.
welcome.
Thank you. It's actually been the best. If you've been listening, make sure to go over to the socials, check Lindsay's account out, and head over to our other episodes on the podcast. Stream those. You can stream them on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. And we'll see you next week. Bye. Bye, Lindsay. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you so much. See you later.